make sure everybody's there. All right. No, you can't leave. You have to stay for the whole speech. Okay, so today is my celebratory speech, and I'm going to start it out with there was this tree out in the middle of the forest, and it was a medium-sized redwood tree, and it was planted and nestled among these giant redwood trees, just all circling around them. And at the base of this tree, we dug down super deep, and there were hundreds of roots at the bottom. And there lies the memory of a very special lady, my grandmother. Her name is Lois May Gordon. She was born May 20th, 1914, and she was born in Minnesota. She soon after moved to Oakland, California. She had 3 younger brothers. And as a young adult, she drove semi-truck for the Navy. She was a civilian driver, but she transported goods. And she was a pioneer before her time. That's how I like to think of her. For her training, she had to compete with all the other men she drove truck with. So one of her competitions, she had to back up the semi-truck to a dock, and they had to see how close they got to the dock. And she won that training, and she met my grandfather, Chief Petty Officer Frank Gordon. And she was married when she was 30. She did everything a little different than most women back in the 1930s and 40s. And she married him for 3 years and then got divorced. So very short-lived. He was her only husband, and she lived her life independently. But during that time, she had my mom, and she went to beauty school. And she opened her own salon in Oakland, and it was called Studio Hairstylist. And it was a very, very successful business. She had 4 stylists with her and 2 manicurists. And she had high-end clients. One of her clients was the owner of Trader Vic's, which is a very nice restaurant chain in California. And with that, the lady who owned that used to travel abroad and bring her back gifts. She brought her back jewelry and art and different treasures, headwear. And when I would visit my grandmother, she would have them in a drawer in her room, and she would take these treasures out, and she would let me play with them, and I would put on the jewels. And through my time with her, she taught me etiquette. She taught me how to be a lady. And one of the things Grandma always said is all a lady ever needs is red lipstick and a little pinch on the cheek. And so that's how I spent my time with Grandma. We would drink tea, and she would teach me to cross my legs properly and how to set a proper place setting and how to wear red lipstick. And the etiquette didn't quite stick with me as an adult. However, I enjoyed that time with her. It was very special. She retired and moved to Oregon, where she bought 3 acres and a trailer home in Elmira outside of Eugene. And it was her haven because Grandma was an animal activist. She loved nature, and through her years being an independent woman, she loved animals, and she fought for them in every way, shape, and form. And near the end of her life, I took care of her. She had dementia, but I would go over in the morning, and one of the things we did was feed her crows. And Grandma would go out on the deck, and she would whistle. And not 1 or 2 crows would come in, but 20 or 30 would come in and land on the roof, and we would toss them bread. And just seeing the joy that it brought to her was amazing to me, and seeing how she touched the lives of animals was incredible. And she had deer and fruit trees, and she enjoyed her life. Some of the things I remember about her, and during my time spending with her while she was suffering from dementia, we would talk a lot and tell stories, because that's what she remembered was her past. She was a long-distance swimmer. She swam in the bay of the Pacific Ocean in Oakland, and she loved to do that for exercise. And one of her stories entailed the naval ship during World War II coming up beside her and blowing their horn, and the men waving for her to get out of the water. And she was cited for swimming in the bay. So she was no longer allowed to do that, but that's what she did. And she did what she wanted to do, and she was a very, very strong woman. And so she wanted to live to be 100. She lived to be 98, almost. May of 2012, she passed away. And she almost made it there. But 98 years of living a very strong life and showing me what an example of what a strong lady could be. Just, I couldn't ask for anything more. So with that, she asked that she not be put in the ground in a coffin, that she wanted to continue to live on. And she wanted to live on at the base of a redwood tree. So we cry. So my family and I traveled, and we found that tree, the medium tree. And we put her in the roots, and there she is today. And she grew up into the roots, and hopefully she's there watching over me. And so this is the story of my grandma, Lois May Gordon, born May 20th, 1914. And thank you for listening.